Nathan, John, and Allison are sitting in their living room watching the news about a comet approaching Earth. The news anchor explains that the comet is moving quickly and some of these fragments will fall to Earth, but they reassure everyone that there is no need to panic. Since today is Nathan's birthday, John decides to take him to the store to pick up some supplies for the celebration. As they reach the store parking lot, they notice a crowd of people staring up at the sky. They see the comet getting closer. While they are shopping, John suddenly receives an emergency alert on his phone, followed by an automated call. The message informs him that his family has been selected for emergency relocation to a shelter. John quickly leaves the store with Nathan. As they drive home, they pass military vehicles and aircraft heading in the opposite direction. When they finally reach home, friends and family have already gathered for Nathan's birthday party. Everyone is watching the news. A large fragment of the comet is expected to crash into the Atlantic Ocean, but the news presenters claim there is no danger. John steps outside and notices birds frantically flying away. Suddenly, a massive shockwave hits him, strong enough to be felt inside the house. John rushes back inside, where everyone is now terrified. The broadcaster announces that the comet fragment did not land in the ocean as expected. Instead, it struck a city in Florida, causing a devastating explosion. People in the room begin to worry about whether more fragments will hit the Earth. At that moment, John receives another message stating that only John, Allison, and Nathan are allowed to go to the shelter. No one else can join them. Along with this, John receives a security code on his phone that he will need to board the evacuation plane. John and Allison hurriedly start packing, but they worry about whether they have enough insulin for Nathan, who has diabetes. While driving, they see people looting stores, taking whatever they can before disaster strikes. They listen to the radio, which reports that more fragments of the comet have already impacted different parts of the world. Scientists predict that some of the upcoming strikes could be powerful enough to destroy entire cities or even trigger a global extinction event. Finally, they arrive at the airbase, where they see a huge crowd of people gathered outside. Military personnel are blocking the entrance, only allowing in those who have been selected for relocation. The family pushes through the crowd and presents their barcode, which grants them access. Once inside, they are given wristbands for identification. Suddenly, they realize that Nathan's insulin is missing. John rushes back to the car to retrieve it, while Allison, worried about him, tries to inform the soldiers. However, instead of helping her, when they learn that Nathan has diabetes, they immediately decide that he is ineligible for relocation and forcibly escort them out of the base. Meanwhile, John, unaware of what just happened, returns to the airbase and heads toward the evacuation planes, but is unable to find his family. He panics and demands to leave the plane. But before he can get off, the base is suddenly breached by desperate civilians who start firing weapons. The plane John was about to board has a fuel leak, and just as he manages to escape, it explodes. John finally learns that his wife and son were rejected from the evacuation plan and have already left the base. When John finally reaches his car location, he finds a message from Allison saying that she is taking Nathan to her father's house, so he immediately sets off in pursuit. As Allison and Nathan drive toward her father's house, they stop at a pharmacy and Allison searches for insulin. Suddenly, a gang storms into the store and starts shooting people. Allison and Nathan manage to escape, and they get into a car with a couple who offer to take them part of the way to her father's house. However, Allison quickly realizes something is off. The couple starts acting suspiciously, and before long, they forcefully throw Allison out of the car, steal her wristband, and take Nathan with them. Allison manages to get another ride toward the airport base, where the couple who took Nathan are heading. As the couple approach the checkpoint, they present Allison's stolen wristband and attempts to board the evacuation plane with Nathan. However, Nathan bravely tells the soldier that they are not his parents. The military immediately intervenes and take Nathan to safety inside the base. Allison arrives at the base and finally finds Nathan in a medical unit, where a nurse informs her that he has been given insulin. Meanwhile, John breaks into an abandoned house to find supplies. He turns on the television and sees an urgent news update. The massive comet fragment is expected to impact Earth in less than 24 hours. He finds a car key and takes the vehicle driving as fast as possible to Allison's father's home. When John arrives, the family is finally reunited. John explains the shelters in Greenland and urges Allison that they need to try getting there before the impact. They start preparing for the long journey to Canada. However, Allison's father refuses to go with them and chooses to stay behind. Before they can leave, a massive comet fragment crashes nearby, sending shockwaves through the area. Realizing they need to leave immediately, Allison's father gives John a gun and says his final goodbyes. During the drive, they come across a roadblock. Suddenly, smaller fragments of the comet begin falling from the sky. John swerves the car off the main road, trying to avoid the deadly debris. Allison moves to the back seat to shield Nathan, while John desperately looks for shelter. They stop near a bridge where other people are taking cover. Later that night, they continue their journey and successfully cross the border into Canada and finally make it to the evacuation plane. When they approach Greenland, a large fragment crashes into the water below, creating a massive shockwave that shakes their plane. The engines fail, and the pilot struggles to keep control and manages to land, but it crashes into a glacier. The impact traps the pilots, and John is unable to save them. However, he sees a military plane landing about a mile away. He leads the other passengers toward it, and when they arrive, a military truck picks them up and drives them to the shelter. Just as they enter the shelter, the main comet fragment finally hits. The impact is catastrophic, and its effects will reach them within minutes. The shelter doors are sealed as people move deeper underground. Nine months later, the world is almost unrecognizable. The planet's surface is devastated, with entire cities reduced to ruins. A radio signal scans for survivors, and eventually it establishes contact with other survivors around the world. Scientists confirm that the dust has settled, and, miraculously, there is no lingering radiation. The shelter doors finally open. John, Allison, and Nathan step outside, seeing the ruined world before them. The radio continues broadcasting signals from survivors all over the globe. Against all odds, life on Earth still remains.